Mr. Mathias, I'd want you to comment on that. Just because it's a competitive world and we're in this phase of development, it's okay to glorify overwork? Is it okay to glorify long working hours? Will you get concrete work done?
Certainly not, Swati. I think there's absolutely no room for a toxic workplace. I think all our various scholars and my co-panelists have rightly said. I think that's clearly not the case. But I think there are two issues, and I think Nirali brought it up to an extent. I think one is the recognition of mental health, right? We have to recognize that every individual have their own coping mechanisms, but different people have different tolerance levels, right? An 8-hour workday may be fine with me, but for somebody else, it might be a cause of stress. So I think that's one point to recognize. Two, I think we also have to recognize that the company has to grow a culture of passion and empathy. You have to recognize that there are human beings. This is not a set of machines that stop. My third point is that while a lot of people would like to legislate, I think you can't legislate against something like this. You can't prescribe strong rules of not calling someone after working hours on the weekend. In a work situation, things like this happen. You can't have everyone.
But we've often heard of such practices being followed in other countries where, people don't call up the employees if they are on vacation, if they are on leave. How do they manage and we can't? Or is this perhaps a mindset that we constantly are in work mode?
So therefore, I think recognizing that people have time off, weekends, or not calling people after office hours, I think is a norm. But I said now and then, in every organization, you might find exceptions. And this is a case-to-case basis. I mean, every employee and his employer or supervisor and employee will have their own calibration. But I think the point that we can help really is, one is increase the whole mandate of what is called the whistleblowing. Whistleblowing right now in corporate India is largely about two things. One is about sexual harassment, and the other is about financial integrity, right? Where you can kind of write a letter to an independent director. I think today we have to recognize that toxic workplaces, slave-driving bosses who are bullies, unusual
perhaps
and
the
crazy working
organization
hours.
needs to take up issues where people rake up such issues, and they perhaps may have complained, brought it to the notice of the authorities that this particular superior or this co-worker isn't cooperating, adding to my stress at workplace, and the organization needs to take an action in such cases. Stay on with us. We have our viewer Ramesh joining us from Chennai. Go ahead. Good evening to you.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. This is, definitely has raised an alarm and created an awareness on the work-life balance. And having said that, the other thing is, we should also get the story from the employers as to what has happened and, what led to this incident. I think we should also hear the other side. That is my point. It cannot be one-sided.
Thank you very much. We have Venkat Raghavan joining us from Chennai. Go ahead. Good evening to you. What are your views?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. And I was working for the DSQ as a backend programmer. And they gave me an option to do after my shift is over, I was doing the yoga, practicing yoga, and they are arranged for that. And this is somewhat helping me. This was helping me in getting out of my stress. And that's what I would request the organizations to go ahead and do with the people.
All right, Venkat Raghavanji, thank you very much. Not every workplace is toxic. Not all bosses are the same. Not every organization is the same. And not every employee is the same. If one can work for 12 to 13 hours, everyone else might not be able to do that. But the point here is that everyone needs to identify, recognize, and accept how fatal stress can prove to be. Thank you very much to our guests. Thank you for joining us on the